Welcome to Worldwide Slot Car Chat number 100. Oh!
Yay!
So we're going to do the contest today, but not right now because you need to watch a little longer before I'm going to reward you. So we'll start off with, I don't see any new faces or names at the moment. Alan, thanks for coming. I think you were on once before, right? We did your introduction before. Okay. So if you have a show and tell, go ahead and raise your virtual hand for show and tell. And we'll try not to miss you if you have something else. John?
Sorry, isn't Peter new? Peter, are you new? Yeah, Peter's new.
Oh, Peter and Kathy? Have you ever been on before, Peter? Yeah, I don't recognize your face. Do you want to do a introduction for your slot-related history?
Yeah, this is my first time on. Thanks a lot for having me. I tried to change the name. I am the Peter of Pete's Light Kits, in case anyone is wondering. So just thought I would jump on here. I haven't had the chance before, but now that I'm recently retired, which is nice,
That was my dog, sorry.
Checked it out and was able to join this one. So here I am. Don't really have anything to show and tell.
Well, go ahead and tell us about how you got started into slot cars, how long you've been doing it, and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, my goodness.
And why you're in a closet.
Yeah.
Hey, hold on. We all are. No, that's you know.
Figuratively, right? Yeah. Well, originally, if you want to go back way back to the early 1970s, Santa brought me AFX slot cars and started that way. And then throughout the years, just did, if it was a hobby in a hobby store, I pretty much did it from free flight airplanes to control line to RC boats, then RC cars, then N-gauge trains. And then around about 2005, 2006, I was in the hobby shop and I spied a Scale X-Tric 1/32 scale, I think the Essex Wire LMP car. And I thought, wow, that's a really well detailed static car. And I'm like, picked it up and looked and I said, wait a minute, this is a slot car? I couldn't believe the amount of detail that they had been able to get into a slot car. I mean, like I said previously, I had been using HO. A buddy of mine had some old, I don't even know what they are or what they were. I think they were Strombeckers, but they were, we affectionately call them the Tupperware cars now. And the detail was just horrendous on them. But when I saw this 1/32 scale scaly car, I was blown away. And it's like, okay, time to sell all the N-gauge train stuff and get back into slot cars. So I initially bought a Ninko GT Max set and was a rug racer for a while. And then I got onto one of the forums on the web and hooked up with some guys around Toronto. I'm in Brantford, Ontario, which is about an hour drive southwest of Toronto. So I hooked up with a bunch of guys around the greater Toronto area and started racing at their home routed wood tracks. And then, that was so nice instead of, having the clickety clack of Ninko track, which is good track. And I quickly learned that, get a variable power supply, pull the magnets out of the cars, and it was so much fun. It, still is fun that way. So again, fast forward to last summer, I finally had a room and I put a track in. It's a 3-lane wood track. It's about 44 feet. And we have a small group of us guys now, 3 tracks in the club and about 9-10 members. And we race every Wednesday night. So tonight's race night. And I'm looking forward to hosting a race that a former slot car racer used to host, and it was a 2.4 hour slotted enduro. My race is going to be kind of slightly modified. It's going to be slotted 2.4 hour enduro, but the rule is only IMSA GTP liveries. And that's just basically based on sort of the very first real race I went and saw, which was Watkins Glen 1987, the Camel Continental. So instantly fell in love with the big GTP cars. So I've just completed this little baby here. I got some decals from IndyCals for the BF Goodrich, the number 68 car. It's a slotted white kit, and the decals went together pretty nicely. The only problem on the back here, the TA radials is a little bit cut off. The decals weren't made for a slot car, but I knew that going in, so no big deal. So it's got and it's got one of my light kits, of course.
I was going to
That's
say, do
it.
you want to tell us a little bit more about Pete's light kits and what kind of things you offer and why and
Sure.
where and all that stuff?
The reason that all started was this, again, talking about this 2.4-hour enduro. The guy who originally hosted it, he hosted it probably, I don't know, 10 or 12 years ago. And I said, yeah, sign me up. And one of the requirements is, okay, we're going to race one round in complete darkness. So your cars need full lights. And, you know, as a kid, I had those, I still have them actually, those Radio Shack 130-in-1 electronics kits and things like that. So, you know, as far as electronics go, I know enough to be dangerous. And I figured, you know what, lighting up some LEDs and keeping them on with a tiny little super cap should not be a problem. So just to kind of verify things, I Googled the whole, figured it out, bought some parts and made my own first light kit. And from there, it just kind of went from there. People were like, yeah, that's a pretty good kit. And I started to sell them. I was selling them through Darts Hobbies website, but then, you know, it got to be a bit of a hassle for both of us. So we came to an agreement that he wouldn't sell them now. So I'm selling them on my own website. If you go on Slot Forum and check my posts or anything, there's a link to the website there. So yeah, light kits. And the reason I wanted to do my own was because all the light kits available at the time had at the smallest, there were 3mm through hole LEDs, which to me looked horrendous on a car, because the last thing I want to do is drill a big 3mm hole and have this LED sticking out. So what I did is I sourced a 1.8mm LED. This is for the front and the back. And then I was able to drill a small hole behind the actual lens of the slotted car and maintain the lens and put the LED behind it. So when you look at the car, unless you look very closely, you wouldn't be able to tell that there's lights in it. So I like to preserve the look of the car, but put lights into it when I can. And then when Slotted switched to I think it was the 962 car, they reduced the amount of room between where the lights would get mounted on the front and the front wheel tire. So I again went back to, you know, I mainly buy my parts from DigiKey. So I did a bit of a search there and switched over to surface mount design LED lights, which are a lot lower. They give you a lot more room to fiddle with. So now that's predominantly what I use are the SMD lights in the front. On the slotted Porsches on the back, you still have to stick with the 1.8mm because there's not a lot of room to put a larger LED back there. The Jaguar can take a large surface mount light, which I've done a few on those. So yeah, all sorts of different light kits and stuff that I offer. And then a couple years ago, picked up a 3D printer and just started from there. I really like buying model kits and putting slot car chassis under them, and I have been using the PCS 32 chassis. It's a very suitable chassis for a lot of the racing that we do, our classes. The one thing that I wanted to try and do though is instead of having an inline, I wanted a sidewinder version of that. So as soon as I kind of realized I could do that with the 3D printer, I got on Tinkercad and made my own rear end that was compatible with the front ends that PCS offers and any copies of those thereof. So I have a sidewinder chassis that I offer now. And then recently I've actually what I think is I've made some improvements to the front ends as well. And by that I've put adjustable, everybody's seen them now, adjustable axle mounts with using metric 2mm screws, and then also made the front end a bit wider so you don't have to put so many spacers in between the wheel and the axle block. And so I make a couple different versions of those. And then I've just recently done an S-can inline rear end that has either can mount or end bell mount. But what I've done is I've tilted the motor ever so slightly so that the gear alignment is perfect, and you can use 0 offset gears, and the mesh is just really smooth. So
If you want to throw a link to your website into the chat in here in Zoom, if you put a link into the text chat, if you're on a PC, down at the bottom, click on the chat button, and then the chat will pop up.
Yeah, I'll see if I can do that, because this PC is a portable that I only ever really use it for Zoom stuff. So I'll
I'm sure you can figure it out. Yeah, go ahead and throw your link in there, and then when this makes it to YouTube, I'll have the link in the description of the video.
Oh, okay, excellent. Yeah, once I get, I'm pretty much done, so I'll start to hunt for that and copy and paste it then. Thanks, Greg.
Perfect. Thank you for joining us, and I'm sure we'll pick your brain from time to time. So glad to have you.
Thank you.
All right, so for show and tell, I think the one I saw the hand go up first was Mr. Sisto, and he's first on my list of faces here. So go ahead and show and tell us, Mr. Sisto.
Well, hello all. I won't say good morning because I know it's not good morning everywhere. John showed his chassis last week of the Chaparral 2G, and I'm going a little bit of a different route. He is going to go with a full interior, where I'm going to go with the card and the half driver. And this is where it's going to start anyway. And that's the wing. What's really cool about this wing is the way John Dilford did it. There's a wire that goes through it, and then you epoxy it to the bottom. And it works out great. But the chassis I wanted to show, Pete just mentioned PCS. Well, this is Penelope Pit Lane. I happen to have this chassis with a broken tab on the rear that's supposed to be the motor mount, but I broke it off for another car, and I knew someday I would have a reason to use it. And it works out well here. So anyway, that's the start of my 2G.
Looking good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You get some side pods on that chassis somehow.
No need for side pods.
Yeah.
Yeah, no need for side pods.
I was thinking more low COG weight might help.
The chassis right now is right at the edge of the bottom of the
Oh yeah.
car.
Actually, it looks like those screws might scrape the track.
Hopefully not. I haven't put electrics in it yet, so I don't know. But yeah, I actually made some body posts. Couldn't find what I really wanted, so I got some styrene tubing, put a smaller tube into a larger tube, glued them together, drilled out for the size of the screws, and those are my body posts, which are, now let's see here, I got to go this way. So there's 3 of them, 2 in the back and 1 in the front here. And the 2 in the back are on either side of the motor shaft. But it worked.
Yeah, it looks great.
Thank you.
Anybody got any questions for Frank? Guess not. So let's move on. I assume you're done, Frank?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for showing that off. And
That's looking really nice, Frank, by the way. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no,
Thank you, John.
We look forward to seeing it in its completed state, and any step in between you feel like showing off.
All right.
Next on my group of faces is Mr. Petrucci. Go ahead, Tony.
I got the electrics for this little gadget.
All righty. Nice. So have you scaled your miles per hour or kilometers per hour on any of your cars yet?
Yeah, that's a nice little fit.
Looks good. Your your microphone is muting is basically canceling the sound of the slot car, so we can't hear you talk.
But there you go. That is that.
What the heck car was that?
Yeah, what kind of car
Sorry?
is that? That looks like a Diablo.
No, it's a Lotus Elite.
Oh, okay.
It's auto heart, I think, or something.
Okay. Interesting. Got anything else?
But I picked this up the other day.
Ah, Avant slot.
That's what this is, advanced slot.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah,
Good looking car.
certainly is.
Yeah,
The one I had-
if it was an auto art, it wouldn't even run on your test bed.
It would hop itself right off of it. All right, anything
we
else,
go.
Petrucci?
No, that's it for me.
All righty, thanks for sharing, sir.
That's
And
okay.
next up is Leo. Go ahead, Leo.
Oh,
You're still muted.
Got it, I think. Yeah, I've got my Formula One medical car. I've shown this before when I was sort of partway through building it, and got help from another member of the chat, who I'm not sure if he's with us tonight, Portals 999,
Oh, yeah.
who's based in Glasgow, and he has a crack-up machine, whatever you want to call it, and made the white deckling for me, the stickers actually. Is it the right way around? Or is it mirror imaged? I'm not sure.
It's right way for us.
Right, okay, so Formula One logo things and the AMG stripes on the bottom, the bonnet with the medical car, and again, the Formula One logo. Can you see that? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, looks good.
So the white deckling was a challenge, obviously, as it always is. So the cricket thing works pretty well for that, so I was pleased with that. I showed it once before, I think, when I was building it. And this is the sort of current style of Mercedes that is used. It's actually an AMG branded car, but Mercedes under the skin. And to get the correct frontage, I had to chop the front off a Scalextric GT3 Mercedes, cut it off, and then stitch it onto the front of the rest of the car, which is a Ninco C-Class Mercedes. So that's how I ended up getting the right version of the car. I have some other Formula One medical cars, and I've got a video. I'll put the video in the link, and you can see the others as well. So this is a special one because it was red. They were always silver before this car. Then I think they introduced this in 2020, I think. The red car came along when Mercedes changed the color of their Formula One cars to black and all that stuff. And the safety car, the medical car, became red. So I thought, right, must do that one. And it's taken me like 2 years to get it done, but got there for the 100th chat tonight. So it's the standard Ninco chassis with the front end slightly modified. Standard Ninco chassis, so it runs quite nicely. The medical car, they tend to put the medical car on the track if there's rain and they're waiting for the rain to clear. So you may have seen pictures of the medical car tail wagging around the circuit, which is what this does as well. So quite pleased with it, and thought I'd show it tonight. Oh, sorry, I've forgotten the pièce de résistance. Of course, it has flashing lights. It has flashing lights. So it's got the flashing headlights, the flashing roof lights for when the car's active on the track, and static tail lights. So yeah. I almost forgot that. That's the one of the most important bits. And that's done with a 12-volt battery mounted about here, which is a sort of key fob type battery, a little tubular thing, N size 12-volt battery. So that works pretty well. Saves having to fiddle with rechargeable type batteries or anything like that. So thought I'd show that tonight.
Very nice.
That's excellent. You should have done the 935. Why was I doing it?
Don't look too closely at the join. The join on yours is invisible, John, but if you look closely, you can see the join on this. Anyway, so thought I'd show this tonight.
Very cool.
Special for the 100th anniversary.
That's awesome. Well, I'm afraid I'm going to have to skip out, gentlemen. I couldn't miss the 100th, even though I got to go and hit a puck.
All right. Thanks for coming, John. We'll see
Happy
you next week.
100. Greg, thank you so much for all this. You bring so much joy to everyone who participates and watches it. Thank you so much.
I am a people pleaser.
Have fun, John. Don't break a leg.
Yeah, don't break anything. All right. Thanks for sharing that, Leo. And does anybody have any questions for Leo before we move on to the next show and tell? Hearing and seeing no. Oh, yeah. Leo's got his hand up listening for questions. Big Dan, you got a question for Leo?
And Neil.
Or Neil
Yeah.
does too?
Yeah,
Yep.
I just thought we should have a few minutes silence for all those cars that gave their lives to build Leo's medical car.
Well, in actual fact, of course, you remember Wayne came on asking if anybody had a chassis for a electric Mercedes GT3. And guess what? By chance, I did. So the chassis went to good use. And I gave Wayne the remnants of the body, the front end chopped off. But I don't know what Wayne did with the body. He may have used the bits and pieces, like the wing at the back would be useful.
I was about to add that the rest of the car has actually raced. The only part of it that didn't was the body shell.
Right. Excellent. So yeah, so very, very few vehicle parts were hurt in the process of producing this.
Yeah, nothing went to waste.
No. That was just an amazing coincidence that you asked just as I had done it, and I'd been thinking it'd be too good to throw away the bits and pieces. But so that was good. It worked well.
Did he use his lighter on the gears?
Sorry?
Did he use his lighter on the gears?
Oh, to soften the gear teeth?
Not this time. Not this time. I didn't lick it with a flame. It was round enough.
All right. Thank you very much for sharing, Leo. Next on my screen for show and tell is Mr. Sampson. Take it away, Dennis.
Okay, hi guys. Excuse me. This is a like a preview of what's going to happen with Greg's Porsche project. Just one that I've just finished.
Cool.
This one is a Singer 911. It's an Area 71 body shell. Just thought I'd show it to see so that you can see basically what's going to happen when Greg's car is built. It's going to look very similar to that. I just finished this one. With the 935, it's going to be it is a 935, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be probably closer to a full Sidewinder because I can move the tires out a long way. But that's the kind of thing you're going to see.
Cool. Looking forward to it.
Okay, I've got a couple of photos too, just so that people could see the detail a little better.
Yeah.
Share screen. Oh God, where's it gone? Hold on. That's not going to work. Why did that do that? Oh, because I was looking at Pete's kits. Okay, let me try again. Share screen. There we go. So that's a close-up of the car. You can see that dimpled surface finish that these Area 71 kits have, and the amount of work that's involved in getting that to a decent finish makes me glad that I'm not doing anything more than just building the chassis. But there's the chassis underneath. The body mounts through these two pieces on the side, which are sprung on some little bits of 032 wire at the front and basically just lift up at the back. Inside the body, there are 4 body posts around, 2 at the back here, 2 at the front of those pans, and I've actually put set screws in those so that you can adjust the height of the body on that. But the body mounts through these 2 screws, which go into a little piece of brass plate that has a nice piece of soft sponge glued to it, and then that soft sponge is glued to the body, so the body can move a little bit, and shake a little bit, and then these 2 pieces in the middle here, these 2 pieces of brass actually can move back and forward a little and rattle up and down a little. They're completely free, and that little bit of movement seems to dampen some of the vibrations as well. And then the guide is mounted on a plate that's connected to these two pieces of wire that go right down the middle of the chassis. So the guide actually has a little bit of sprung movement left and right, only about a 32nd of an inch either way, or maybe a little less, even maybe 20 thousandths. But it's just enough to make to smooth out the car as it goes into a turn. And this one's running on NSR tires, no, Thunderslot tires at the rear, with little foam inserts inside them. And it runs easily the same speed as a fairly good slotted Group C car around my track. So it's working very well for a customer, not for me.
Well, it looks fantastic.
Thanks.
So yeah, look forward to seeing that under a 935.
I want to see what Dennis's. I want to see what Dennis's T-shirt says.
Dennis's T-shirt says, "I am an engineer. To save time, let's just assume that I'm never wrong."
That's
My wife
great.
bought
That's
it for
great.
me. My wife bought it for me. So I can't tell you whether she was feeling sarcastic that day or
He's trying to
complimentary.
tell you something.
Of course she was.
Was it in her size?
No.
All right, thanks for sharing, Dennis. Definitely looking forward to the 935 version.
Yeah, that's coming up soon. It'll be a couple of weeks.
No rush. Does anybody have any last minute questions before I move on to another show and teller? Big Dan?
Just wondering with Dennis, was that a Predator motor?
That's a Predator, yeah, 25K ball bearing. No, 22.5K, 22.5 RPM ball bearing motor. Seems like a very nice little motor.
Yeah, well, as a matter of fact, I've just bought one in a couple of the 18Ks. I found a place in Australia that stocks them. So they only arrived in the post today. So I'm looking forward to having setting them up in his chassis and having a go with it.
Yeah, I've never used them before. The customer sent this one to me, and it looks like nice. It looks like it worked pretty well.
All right. Thank you very much for answering that question. And next on my screen, we'll go with Jim. Mr. Rose, what you got today?
Let's see here.
Oh, yeah.
I got the new McLaren. And so there is a race at Electric Dreams this next week. Not this weekend, but next weekend. And so I've started building this. And so this is kind of the first look at the brand new McLaren. I got the yellow one. The liveried cars are not available yet, to my knowledge. So I got the yellow one, and it looks really good. I mean, I don't know if it's definitely not detailed like a fly car or something like that, but it looks awfully good, I think. The one thing that kind of sets this car apart is, wait a minute, something's going wrong here, is the rear wing. And why is that?
It looks like you're in edit mode.
Yeah. Technical difficulties. Yeah, let's see here. There we go. There we go. So the rear wing is hard rubber. And it will obviously probably take more abuse than the regular wings. And I see they make this for the 91710, which I wasn't aware of, and hopefully they'll make them for the rest of the line and some of the older cars, because it looks like a real nice improvement for people that are racing.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the only thing that's different about this car, other than it's a new body style. It looks like a baby Mosler to me, so hopefully it'll run that way. We've got the race coming up next week at Electric Dreams, and so here are my two cars getting ready for a test session this weekend, and there's what they look like underneath.
Okay, well, that helps me out.
Oh, let me take it back.
While I'm busy getting mine ready.
I've run
the McLaren on my track.
McLaren I ran last weekend at a track I'll show you in just a second. And it liked a couple grams of lead on each side. The BMW, I'm trying the super hard chassis, and about 2.5 grams of tungsten on each side. The BMW is an extremely short guide to rear axle distance, And I think it will be really fast if I can get it to hook up. And that's why I'm going with the McLaren probably as my primary car. It's got all the lightweight stuff in it that's allowed by Electric Dreams. So those are the two cars, along with another Mercedes I'm taking down there next week. And so that's that McLaren. It's an awesome looking car. I'd highly recommend it.
Yeah, it's like the Mercedes in that it does not have a drop arm in the chassis.
Correct. Yeah.
Whereas all the others still do.
Identical in dimension to the Mercedes. So it's basically a Mercedes with a different body on it. Here's the track that I tested it on. This is a new track for us. It's in Emeryville, right next to Oakland, California. One of the toughest tracks I've ever run on, because there is no straightaway. Even the straightaway is not straight. And so the Mercedes or the McLaren ran extremely well on this track, which surprised me. It's a really tight track. And so I'm hoping it runs really good down in Electric Dreams next week. So we'll see. So that's about it for me.
Jim, is that a wooden track?
It is a wood track. Yep. 3-lane. It used to be copper tape. It's now braided. It has a steel braid on it. And so it does, you know, if you have magnets in your car, it will attract the magnets. And we're going to start racing on this. This will be our third track in our Northern California rotation, hopefully. So I don't know what happened to my computer. I've lost my cursor, so I'm trying to unshare. There we go.
All right.
So
I can always stop a share if you get stuck.
Got it. So that's it for me for this week.
Awesome. Anybody got any questions for Jim before we move on? Hearing and seeing none. Thank you very much for sharing, Jim, and we'll go to Big Den.
Before I start, Greg, I just noticed that Nick and Brian have had their hands up.
Nick asked to go last, and then I'll get to Brian.
Okay, yeah. Okay, fine. Okay, I'll just have some pictures from me. I'll just do a share screen. How we go? Oh, we're right there.
Not yet. There we go.
Okay. While I've been in fuel exile with the prices as they've been the last few months, I've been sticking around home a lot, and these are a couple of SCX, the sort of generic Ferrari 333s. I've had these decals from Pato for quite some time, so I thought I'd apply them to the bodies and dress up the standard SCX cars a bit. So if you see two of every picture, that's because Tasmanians are reputed to have two heads. So I do everything twice by the look of it. So just another view of those. Nextly, the great debate last week between Dennis and others about whether we should have brass or plastic chassis. I'm sort of thinking here of the hybrid. This is a plastic motor box and back end from an Avant slot car. On the top of it is a bit of K&S brass angle tube, which when you get them together, you can get something like that. So you can use, you can make whatever you like for the front end of the chassis after the brass is affixed to the motor box. This K&S, I feel like Harry Wise when I'm flogging K&S. I think their model, the part numbers are 1881 and 1882. So it's just a bit of a variation for someone. I find it hard in Australia to get the JK brass angle, motor brackets for the back of to do a brass chassis. So that was my take. Just a couple of other projects. This was a white kit Pagani that I've just done some decaling on, work in progress, as you can see. Pagani Zonda from MB Slot. Pato's decals again that have been in a box for eons. Okay, so I'll just move to the next one. And this is just about completion of my custom body of Revo slot, which will be in action this Saturday at our coming race meet. So quite finicky, some of those decals to get them on with the shapes and things, but it didn't turn out too bad. So just a bit of a,
looks great.
yeah, a bit of a variation from You know, the Revo slot, you know, they've got quite a few available, but just about everyone's got one of each of them. So I was just gone with a you know, a custom job. So yeah, so I've just got a couple of notes on the side here. I'm also setting up a second NSR Formula One chassis, just so I can experiment a bit with motors and tires and setups and things. And when Jim comes on, I often have a feeling of deja vu, because I'm an avid watcher of his NorCal slot car videos. So keep them coming, Jim. I really enjoy them. Oh, and the other thing too is it was great to see Russ back online last week. I had been wondering if he was okay and everything, so it was fantastic to see him back on there. Okay,
Yeah, Russ is doing great. He usually just forgets to come.
Okay, that's me done for now.
All right, thank you, Big Den. And Brian, you got your virtual hand up. What would you like to show and share today, Brian?
Good afternoon, good evening, gents. Been a while since I've been able to catch one of these live. Greg, congrats on 100. That's awesome. We had our stock car show in St. Louis here this weekend. Start the video here. They do one of these about every 4 months here. And I wanted to share my scores for the weekend. So first one up, Scalextric Chaparral. The car did come with a box. The box looked a little tore up, but the car itself looks brand new, runs terrific. $5.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Oh, quit bragging.
Yeah, he just came here to brag.
Golly.
Again, Shelby Daytona came with the box. Looks a little dusty, a little dirty. Car looks brand new. Typical corrosion on the magnets on these. That's typical, but the rest of the car looked brand new. $5.
Oh, come on.
It's gonna go down from here. The next one's gonna be $4.
You're lying.
Can we vote him out of the club?
Yeah, I'm gonna kick him.
Jeez.
Okay, what car is that, Brian?
Now this is a Scalextric.
I'll give you 10.
Yeah.
GT3. Now this one did not come with a box, and it's not exactly one I would buy. It's got the anime livery on it and everything, but perhaps the smoothest, quietest Scalextric car I've ever owned. Runs terrific. $5. Next, Revell Goodwood Corvette. You guys are all familiar with these, I'm sure. I picked this one up because I actually own the other one, so I thought it would be kind of nice to have the pair. Again, this one did come with the box. Looks brand new.
$5.
Runs terrific. I do have new tires coming for it. $5.
So the cops come to arrest you yet for all that stuff?
Well, I'll tell you, the guy I bought these from, most of his display was 1/25th scale drag cars. And he just had a bunch of these. He actually had some of the Revell, the Blue Thunder, and the Creepy Crawlies that I should have snatched them up. $5. I already have those two cars, but I should have took them anyways because I could always use the parts. But I bought these 4. So I figured for $20, it was a pretty good haul. They're all break. If you'd have handed it to me and told me it was a new slot car, I would have believed you. So pretty happy with that.
Those are the prices I tell my wife I spend.
I mean, that basically paid for your trip. You know, what you saved on that was paid for your gas money and your lunch, probably.
Yeah. Now this was the other purchase. These are NSR Mark IVs.
You better not be $5.
No,
Better not be.
Now these, I think these are older versions because one, they don't have the air gap wheels. These were brand new. They do not have the adjustable front axles. They're fixed. And the motor, this tablet has a terrible camera. I apologize for that. The motor specs aren't even consistent with their current motor. This is a Shark 20, and it says 20,000 RPM, 164 grams of torque, which their 20,000 RPM motor now in their catalog anyways is only 150 grams. But these were all brand new. Now, while I didn't get them for $5 a piece, I did get them for 50 a piece.
That's still a good deal for NSRs.
Yeah, that's what I thought. He had a couple others. He had some Moslers, and he had a 917 I probably should have bought. I have one Mosler. It would have been nice to have a pair. But I saw these 3 Mark IVs, and they run terrific. They're smooth. They're quiet. Very pleased. So all 7 cars was $170, including 3. So I was pretty pleased with myself.
And so
We're
your
all
wife,
jealous.
These are all brand new.
Yeah.
So you can see they use the black pods, where most of the ones around here, when I see them, they're coming standard with the red pods now.
Yeah, I think my P68 white kit was pretty much that configuration.
And I know these didn't get great reviews on their fit and finish. And no, they're not top notch. As a matter of fact, I was not able to find a picture of this yellow car anywhere online with the headlights painted out. They all had clear lenses. So I'm thinking they got trashed. Are probably from the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s, 2005 through 2010 maybe. So.
Fantastic haul, buddy, man. We're jealous of you. That's good stuff.
That's all I got.
All right. Thanks for sharing, Brian. I think Big Den had a question for you.
Yeah. Brian, have you ever thought of going into the movie business, making a 1/32nd scale version of Grand Theft Auto?
Sorry, I'm working today, so I'm drunk. So it's kind of hard to hold the camera still.
All right. Thanks again, Brian. And up next.
Hey, Greg, before you go, hey, Brian, can you drop the information for your swap meet in St. Louis? Because I have family down there, and we go down there every 3 times a year. So if you can drop that information, that would be great.
I tell you what, you Google St. Louis Slot Car Show, and it'll come up.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
St. Louis Slot Car Show. All right.
I think the next one's in August.
All right, so everybody out there, go to St. Louis Slot Car Show. Sounds like there's some good deals to be had. And Kelly, did you have a show and tell, or was that just for Brian? Okay.
plane ticket would be a little expensive, I think.
Everybody near St. Louis.
There you go.
Gas
right.
costs would be a little prohibitive as well.
Yeah. All right, Nick, you are up, sir.
Good evening, gentlemen. Are we well?
Yes, we are.
Very good. I didn't think I was going to be the first one to mention this. Some of you may or may not know that this weekend is the 9th running of the Disco Le Mans 24-hour. Many things have been going on in the last few months. Referring to Dennis's Porsche project that he's got going on, our car for this year is this. This is a TA71 car. It's a Ferrari 488.
Very nice.
As Dennis said, the finish on the bodies aren't great. This still isn't perfect, but it's enough. It's close enough for me, if that makes sense. It took a bit of rubbing down. It took a little bit of filler primer, a bit more rubbing down, but it's close enough. It's the only Ferrari on the grid, so it'll be easy to pick out.
Can you show us the chassis?
Yeah, I think it's going to be okay. A couple of guys, Alan Wilkinson, Mr. Underwood, certainly had a preview of it a couple of weeks ago down at Stanborough. We did a bit of testing. All went well. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to show it off.
What's underneath it?
I was going to say, can you show us the chassis?
I can. It's just a TA71 chassis. I had to make an adapter to make the slotted Evo 6 mounts fit. For whatever reason, the chassis design, the normal where they mount, that's obviously the chassis mount there, but the Evo 6 mount would be somewhere over here. So I had to make a little dog leg bracket. Think about a strut race in a rally car, something like that. I had to fabricate one of those so it all joins together. But yeah, it's okay. It ran well at Stanborough. We're happy with it. Yeah, let's hope for a good race.
Nice.
How many teams are they having this year?
How many what, Dewan?
Sorry.
How many teams will they be having this year?
There are 12 teams at the minute. It was 15 for certain COVID reasons. It's some of the European teams have dropped out. So we're at 12 teams at the minute. Hopefully they'll all turn up. I think it has run with 12 teams before. My team has only done it once before. That was in 2019. It ran in 2018, I believe, with 12 teams. So we can still have a good race with 12 teams.
That's an oxygen system they run, right?
Correct. Yeah. Minco track oxygen system. Yeah.
Good stuff. Anybody got questions for Nick? Paul, is that a question for Nick, or do you have a show and tell you want to show and tell? Anybody got questions for Nick before we move on?
Hey, Nick, have you got any space in your team?
Word. Who's asking and why?
That's Wayne Lander asking. He wants to race on your team, I think.
I think Wayne's got his own team, hasn't he?
Maybe he likes the looks of your car better.
I kind of have, yeah. But that's a nice looking car, Nick, and I look forward to getting my fingers on it and, having a good look around it with you.
You keep your sticky fingers
keep
to
your hands off
yourself,
it.
Mr. Lander.
Yeah. How many drivers do you use on a team?
The average team is 5. We have 4 this year. It is doable with 4. It's going to be tight, but it is doable with 4.
Yeah, the minimum 3 per team with a maximum of 6. As I say, 6 is good. You get rep. 3's hard. My first ever 24-hour was years ago in, must have been about 15, 18 years ago, up in near Birmingham, Phoenix Raceway. That's where Gary started, in actual fact. Gary was there with Alex and a few of the old school from Wolverhampton, Birmingham area.
I did that with you, John.
Yeah, there you go. Dave was there.
Yeah.
So I've been doing it for 2 or 3 years, and I'd been up there. And John, I got a phone call. Oh, do you want to come and do it? Yeah, I'd love to have a go. So I went up. I said, oh yeah, it's 3-man team. I thought, oh, that'll be hard. So anyway, this other chap, we had a Moses. Moses just come out, ran it as a sidewinder, up to 25k, I think it was. So whizzing around, and the other guy was working on shift. Was working till 10. He said, "Oh, about 10:30." Yeah, okay. So this other guy started at 11, raced till 12. Come off. Oh, I'll get in the phone for a bit. I'll be back shortly. Yeah, okay then. So me and this other chap, Colin, his name was. We carried on racing. So my first ever 24-hour was a 2-man team basically. So I wouldn't recommend it. But I said I'd do it by myself once, but I don't think I will. Maybe 10 years ago. Sorry, Nick, we were diversifying. What Nick hasn't showed you, you've got 2 of them, haven't you, Nick?
I have got 2, yes.
So rather than upset people with 1, you could have shown them 2, you see. I've driven it. It's a lovely looking car, and it ran really well. I didn't push it. I don't know what the lap times were, but it felt as good as our Porsche. So, it's...
There's nothing worse than letting someone have a go with your car and they go like 3/10 faster than you do. To me, that just shows that it's a good car. Like John could drive it faster than me. That shows to me it's a good car. So yeah, we're happy.
No, it should be a good race. As I say, there's hopefully all 12 will turn up. The only trouble with 12 is there's 16 marshalling.
Yeah, marshalling positions. Yeah, it's going to be tough.
I've got a video. If I can find it and upload it on here, Adam sent it earlier. So sorry, carry on. I'll try and find this video. I'll just poke it in the chat. Right, it'll just come up.
Okay. All right. Thanks for your input, John, and thanks for sharing that, Nick. And Paul, you got your hand up. Now it is your turn to talk.
Hey, will that be recorded, the disco race?
hopefully, Johnny S often does a channel.
Yeah, John Soden. Yeah, John
Yeah.
Soden's going to be there. There will be, if he's true to form, the events he's done previous, there will be a YouTube video at some point.
Yeah, it probably won't be as in-depth and lengthy as his earlier Oxygen 24-hour videos, but I'm sure he'll throw something up.
I anticipate putting a few clips into my YouTube channel while I'm there.
Yeah.
As well. So if anyone wants to subscribe to a channel on YouTube called Car Fun Mostly, all one word, then you might get some footage from the event as it takes place.
Yeah, I remember you threw up a few last time. That was good. So yeah, Car Fun Mostly on YouTube, and John Soden or Johnny S. I forget what his YouTube thing is. I'll try to remember to put a link to his channel.
It's called Johnny S.
Just Johnny S.
Yeah, it's called Johnny S.
Okay, so I'll try to remember to put a link in the description.
Also, if you search on YouTube Disca Le Mans 24-hour, that will come up.
Yeah, and you'll get all those other videos from the past, and they're great to watch, just kind of as a build up to the event. And that's this weekend, isn't it?
This weekend coming, yeah. It starts on Friday. Race starts at 3 p.m. Saturday, goes through to 3 p.m. Sunday.
Nice. All right, looking forward to that, and then reports on what happened for that next week. And Paul, go ahead.
Maybe.
maybe need a little bit more recuperation time. All right, go ahead, Paul.
I've just been pulling one of these apart.
Ooh.
Rebuilding it. It's the Scalextrics original control. And I threw it in Dettol because it was a wreck. And this is going on. I'm going to put all lights in it, paint it properly, and it's going on the track. But the Dettol was put. Well, everything's come up. I'm going to say I've got a box of bits here.
So that was an original Scalextrics that you stripped and primed?
Yeah, that's what it come out like.
Oh yeah.
And that's what Dettol does. I mean, say it breaks up all the old glue, and it just brings it up. Lovely.
It's amazing.
So that's what I've been playing with. It's going to be, I say, I'm going to put all lights, lampshades in it, and finally get all glazing in it. And that's the first building to go on the actual track. So that'll be done.
Awesome. Looking forward to updates on that with some color and pictures of it on your track.
And here's the remains of my, that was shown earlier, the yellow.
Oh yeah. So your lenses are painted as well.
Yeah. But there's nothing left of it.
Yeah, you've stripped it out for parts.
Yeah, it was a parts car.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I've been playing with some of the other Sunoco cars, but they're not ready yet. So I'll show them when they're ready.
Well, you know, I'm looking forward to that.
I thought you might. Oh dear.
Awesome.
As a Superbird in well, it's stripped and it's being lined up at this moment. So that's going to run in Sunoco livery.
Nice. A Carrera Superbird.
Basically. Yeah, it's going to have it's a Carrera Superbird with an Amato chassis.
Oh yeah, so not a Carrera anymore.
Chassis for it. So
perfect.
There you go.
All right, I look forward to that show and tell then.
I will.
All right, thank you, Paul. And Jeremy put his hand up. What's going on, Jeremy?
Yeah, I have two daughters, and one likes orange cars, which is easy to find because Jägermeister is everywhere. But the other likes pink cars, and I finally got the pink Group C Blaupunkt car. Ooh, I don't know where I'm at. I'm all over the place. All right. So I finally got the pink Blaupunkt car. I've been waiting for that one for a while. The prices kind of went stupid on this for a while, but they're back to normal. So that was it.
Looks good. Yeah, Group C, slotted Group C is just a no-brainer. If you don't have a slotted Group C in your collection, friggin' get one. You're missing out.
They've just done the pink pig, haven't they, as well? That's in.
And it's our good one, I think.
Yeah, they're out
Couple of
there and
others.
about, but like if I'm trying to do a scale electric class for the kids, then I have to find a pink one for, so just a pain.
That's where those-
But I finally
those
got 4
animated-
Group 4s now that I can run with them. So
That's where
they're
those
Group Cs.
anime livery cars come in handy for the kids. They usually like those.
Yeah.
I've got my daughter a Peppa Pig car. It's a NASCAR, and one of my friends built it. And one's a Frozen car, and the other one's pink. Peppa Pig. So. Dennis, what's the new Escort like?
The sideways Escort.
Yeah.
Very pretty. And it runs pretty much the same as the BMW 320s and a couple of others. It seems pretty good. The only thing that I found when I was tuning mine up yesterday, the very first thing that I do on all of those Group 5s is I put in the 1mm offset rear axle. And when you do that, the rear wheels foul on the interior of the car. So you have to grind away a little bit of the corners of the interior at the back to get them to clear.
I got mine today.
Sorry?
I got one today.
Okay. Yeah. Other than that, it's a very nice car. Looks great.
Yeah, I'm going to try it at East Devon on Friday. So see what it's like there.
What
Yeah, I haven't
tires
done
do
that
you
before
run?
yet.
Do you run them with stock tire?
No, it's I'm just want to see what it's like. I'm going to put NSR rubber on the back of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think probably it would help to have a slightly smaller diameter rear tire, or rather go for a slightly smaller tire and the 0.5mm offset axle carrier than to try and use the full size tire and the 1mm, because it just causes this problem at the top of the interior is very long and square at the back because it carries all of the roll cage and everything under the rear window, and the corners of that catch the tire. So I had to grind away a little bit there.
All right.
Other than that, it's nice. Yeah, it's smooth, handles well. I haven't put decent tires on it yet, but even with the stock tires, just trued down and made sure they're round, it runs pretty well.
Did you put any weight in it?
No, I haven't had a chance to tune it a lot yet, and I seldom put weight in my cars anyway.
Yeah.
But the first thing that I'll do will be to change out the rear tires for slotted N22s, I would think.
So I just want to know, because I knew you was getting one, and I thought,
yeah, well,
is he going to get one before me? Because I got mine straight from Spain. So.
Well, I whatever's brand new at Electric Dreams when I go in there on a Thursday has a very good chance of coming home with me on Thursday night.
That's the dream job, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But the problem is that sometimes I go in there and I look at the cars and I collect them and I think to myself, well, that's the whole day's worth of pay blown on 2 slot cars, right? Or that's this week and next week's work blown on slot cars straight away.
And we were jealous of the $5 slot cars.
Yeah.
Wow, geez. Yeah.
Dennis needs a new T-shirt that says "Will work for slot cars."
Yeah,
pretty much already does.
Yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do. Yeah, so I this week was the sideways Escort and the NSR McLaren. Well, last week was, and the NSR McLaren is really very nice.
Is it?
I bought the Sidewinder version with the short can because they run better on my track than the long can ones do, and so it's a rocket. Even on the stock tire, which now of course is an Evo super grip rather than just a regular super grip, and it runs well.
I'll have to get one of them then, aren't I?
All right. Well, we'll look forward to
yellow.
We'll look forward to Dennis doing a show and tell on how he tunes up the Escort.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Let's finish the show and tell with Alan. He's ready to show and tell stuff. Are you going to show off your Disca car, Alan?
No.
Aw.
I'm not going to show off my Disca car, and there's a very good reason for that. I didn't build our car for this year. Our car is being built by Graham Eldridge, and I don't get to see the car in the flesh until Friday. But it will be it's a Corvette C7r. It's a scale auto body and chassis, and Graham's had a nightmare of a time trying to build it. But that's a whole different story. Maybe next week, well, it's a couple of weeks' time, because I don't tend to do the past midnight show. I'll go through maybe some of our experiences. I'm sure that Nick will as well.
All right, what you got today?
Well, I was at an event last weekend, which was the NSR F1 Grand Prix down at Molesey. And it was a wood track for me, so that's a whole new thing, really a whole new thing. And by the end of the weekend, I kind of got to grips with it. But this was my highlight, picking up one of these.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So they had a stack of these on the side. And I said, can I have one of those? It's like, yeah, no problem. Take it. No problem at all. Have that. Thank you. And pride of place in the new catalogue.
I live right one as well, Alan. Don't worry about it.
So there we go. And there's lots of good stuff in this catalogue. I really like it, and I really like the fact that they've got a page full of stuff from different competitions that NSR have sponsored. That's a lovely little page there, and they've got factory page. So these are the guys. That's the factory. That's where NSR design right from the start, so right from the end, assemble and package and ship out and Salerno. So it's a lovely catalogue.
It's so much nicer than an online thing, aren't they?
Yeah, much nice to get that. And pride of place in this catalogue is that beautiful John Player Special liveried NSR Formula One car that isn't going to be available for another 3 or 4 months. And I didn't want to wait. So I probably didn't show you guys this yet.
Oh, well, nice.
So this was the one that I built for the Moseley Grand Prix. And I finished in the midnight, which is, not too bad. I built 2 of these, actually. One to race down at Wood Green, and then one for the Moseley Grand Prix, to a fairly standard spec. But wood racing is a whole different thing. Actually, having the front wheels hold the weight of the front of the car is something you just don't do on plastic. Whereas on wood, you have to. It made such a difference. By the end of the weekend, I got this thing really spinning quite well, and it was just showing up the shortfalls in my driving. By the end of the thing, I was looking at an old NSR catalogue. This is so old it doesn't even have a date on it, so I don't even know how old this is. I'm flipping through this. I found this, and it's not in the new catalogue. And I suspect that NSR don't make controllers anymore, and I don't know when this slid off their to-do list. Dennis, would you know?
Got one? Does anybody have one?
I have never seen one of those before.
I tried one. I was not impressed.
You tried one, Gio?
Yeah.
Is that a 2 or a 3 pot, Alan?
Three.
Yeah, it's still about. I sold it to one of the Oxford club members, so it's still about that. Well, I bought one. It's still knocking about.
But you didn't like it enough to keep it, John.
No, I've had loads of controllers. Where I'm sat now, I can see a PRS and a Cobra.
Okay, so that's the end of my show and tell. I just thought I'd show you that cool catalogue, because I do like proper nice glossy catalogues.
Yeah, lovely.
Do a little one, a little thin one, but NSR really go to town on theirs. It's a beautiful glossy production.
Carrera did a pretty good job too.
And well worth keeping. Yeah. Okay, that's the end from me.
All right. Thanks for sharing, Alan. Does anybody else have anything they want to share and show before we shift over to something else? Seeing and hearing none.
Alan's shaking. Alan's waving.
Oh, Mr. Lautenschlager, go ahead and share and show.
Can you hear me okay? I had
Yeah, go ahead.
audio before.
Yep, you're good.
This is more of a big find for me this past weekend. I got so excited when I found these things. I did post them on HRW, so some of you may have seen them. But I was moving some stuff around, and I came across what I thought was a tackle box, thinking that there's some fishing stuff in there. I'll go ahead and send it to my grandson. Well, when I opened it up, I got really surprised. For starts, I don't know, hopefully you can see it on the camera. Now I realize these are probably considered junk today, but
you can hold it right in front of yourself, right in front of your chin there. There you go.
Okay, that's a Ninco Caldwell Corvette.
Callaway Corvette.
Yeah, the Callaway. And I have no idea what some of these are. This one says something about a Ford Capri.
Yeah, fly.
Yeah.
That's the worst sack speed.
And then a handful of those things that go constantly left. There's another one.
Are those SCX or Carrera?
They're SDX. This one is a scale electric.
No.
Yeah.
And
these are all something that you bought years back and forgot about?
Yeah, about 2000 when I was living back in Dallas, Texas. And then we moved up here and just totally evaded me, which at my age shouldn't surprise you. There's a Lola.
Nice. Get them over.
There's a Viper.
That must be some big tackle box.
I was gonna say it's a big box.
That was a hell of a tackle box. The kid's not getting this. No way.
Buried treasure.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the hell this is. I think it's a Marcos or something like that.
It's a Marcos, yeah.
By Marcos, yeah.
Marcos LM600.
And the only thing I can recognize on this is Fruit of the Loom.
It's a Lancia Delta Monte Carlo.
Okay.
Group 5 car. That was a fly car. They were actually nice little cars.
And then here's the craziness. I apparently I went overboard.
Well, don't all the plinths have the car information on it? Are they not accurate?
Yeah, this is a Corvette CSR 24-hour Le Mans 2000.
Mm-hmm. C5.
And then here's
the front motor ones.
Another CSR, first on the 24th, 2001.
And all of these are out of a fishing tackle box.
A big tackle box, apparently.
That's a hell of a tackle box.
Size.
To be fair, that's a hell of a box.
Here's a.
I think it was a magician's box where things keep on coming out of it.
There you go.
How come all that fit in there?
It wasn't
says
Dr.
something
Who's
about
tackle box, was it?
19,900 or 1999 Laguna.
Yeah. The good wrench.
Hold up the box. I'm not. I want to see this
They didn't
box
cost
now.
$5.
He might even be able to hold up the box.
It's too big for me to lift.
That's what I was thinking.
I bet you won't lift the box up.
It was
Get
a box
inside that
for
box.
mailing. It had
Brian will give you $5 each for those cars. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Good effort, sir. Good effort.
$1,000 for shipping.
Yeah.
Nice.
2001 Le Mans.
Those Corvettes were very,
Still
very
going.
nice models, but they're terrible
And here's
cars.
another.
Yeah. Wow.
24th Tacoma or Daytona.
Yeah. You had a lot of those Corvettes.
My fishing box doesn't even have that many lures in it.
Now, that's what I thought. I thought it was fishing shit. So, and then I can't remember what the name of this is, but it's Bits and Pieces. It was
in front of you.
Here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's ProTrack. Yeah, that was
That's a ProTech chassis.
that's the ProTrack
Fiberglass.
chassis. Yeah, the little
And
blue.
then I found a
glass
bunch of
fiber pieces.
gears, wheels, and motors. I must have about 20 of these things. It's called H&R Racing Product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those little blue motors are good. Are good motors. Yeah,
They're
they
still
ran
used.
well.
They're still very prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That was the contents of my tackle box.
Yeah, a little surprise show and tell of your own when you open that thing up there.
I couldn't believe it. All of a sudden, and then what you see behind me, my slot car brain, so you can see that it blew up when I found these things.
Yeah.
What's in the tackle box
Crazy.
now? What's in the tackle box now? The missus.
Any fish with that lot?
Yeah, there's a bunch of tires in there that I didn't show you. Bunch of gears. A bunch of looks like fly parts, gears, axles, pickups, and so forth.
Are they all new parts?
Yeah, they're all new. They're all still in the packages.
If you got some non-Evo tires in there, I'll pay the $1,000 shipping.
I didn't hear you.
At $5.
I didn't hear you.
There's no NSR stuff.
And no NSR stuff in there, Jim. It's all fly and skill extra. All right.
That tackle box again and see if a genie comes out.
Yeah, give it a little rub there, Alan.
Give it a little rub there, Alan.
Oh, here's
It's
some.
like the TARDIS. That box is like a TARDIS. You sure
Yeah.
that's not Doctor Who's fishing box?
Holding up an axle there.
Yeah, bunch of fly axles, magnets.
What are those?
Magnets
I'm kidding.
for the car.
For the fridge.
Yeah, no, they come in a little container. Open up my beer cans, I guess. I don't know.
All right. That's a fantastic. You're just going to have to go and make an inventory and start selling on eBay or something. That's crazy.
That's like a time capsule of like the early 2000s, really.
Yeah, pretty much.
Good
All right.
Lord.
Good stuff, Alan. Let's give something away. I have my randomizer ready to go, and we are going to give away the magnetic racing buildings. This is the list that I got off of the video. Jeremy, Greg, Dewan, Michael, Starfleet grad, Torque Mutant, Graham, DC Orr, Don Young, G'day MEPO5 here. Richard, I enjoy your videos, Lang. That one killed me. Courtney Smith, Neil Guerrero, Bob Roberts, Primed and Ready, and Nigel Martin in the order that I received their emails, notifications of them commenting on last week's video like they should have. I'm going to click this button, and the top three are going to win in order. Number one is going to win a grandstand. Number two is going to win the Marshall Hut. Number three is going to win the grandstand. Here we go. Bob, Starfleet, and DC Orr. Contact me via email at ggalb@ggalb.com, and I'll go through some verification stuff, and we'll get your shipping information, and you guys are going to get some magnetic racing buildings. Yay! The wieners!
Very generous. That's a nice gift. Very generous.
And you are required, I'm just kidding, but it'd be nice if you put them together and came on the show and did a little show and tell about your magnetic racing
That'd be
and
nice.
painting and all that stuff.
Very good idea.
But not a requirement. So that taken care of, we can move on to other topics. We'll do the Tire True Reciprocator giveaway later on during today's chat, probably another half an hour or so. So now we have Club Corner. So if you want to talk about past, present, or future club activities, or even just having people over to race at your house activities, now is the time to share it. Dewan raised his virtual hand. Go ahead, Dewan. He was ready with that share. All right.
Is it up?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I guess my screen change is blurred. Well, anyway, we had I participated in my fourth race with the Far Out Stock Car Club. It was Electric Dreams this past weekend, and Dennis was there and many other notables. And we had two classes, the F1 class and a Group C slotted class, F1 NSR. And those are actually my selection of cars. I don't know how I got into this photo, but anyway, that's the cars that I brought. My NSR F1, and I had that Shell Porsche 962, and then the Nissan that I ran the first ever race in that I finished last in. But this is a little couple pictures of the shot at Electric Dreams and the racers, and some outside pics. And yeah, this is one of the active races, and I'm there in the middle. I guess I'm on the lane, the fourth lane over, something like that, thereabouts. The F1 racing. My F1 car they came out the gate just horribly. And after the race and everything, I did hand it to Dennis. He kind of pointed out a few things that were wrong with the setup. But I had to use what was called what they had set aside was the loaners. And but anyway, to my surprise, I did not finish last.
Woohoo, not last.
I improved quite. So you can see we had 21 races for the second race was 20 races for the F1 class, and I finished 19th. And we had 21 races for the Group C class, and I finished 20th.
Good job.
I was only 40 laps behind. I was 42 laps the first time, so I went 42 laps.
No, but you were 6 laps ahead of Charlie, and 5 laps ahead of him on the other race.
Yes, and I'm just two laps behind others. And I did find out that my Group C car, it was, and I was really amazed. I thought I was really racing that quite well, personally, for my personal edification. I was racing it quite well. And it was substantially fast in the straights. I don't think, anytime I was neck and neck with anyone going into the straights, my car was faster than their car, which was I was pretty impressed. I don't know how. That's straight out the box. Well, with minor setup stuff, but after the race, they took my car and put it on the blocks and saw that it was the front end was off by 1/8 of an inch on one side. So they were surprised I was able to race the car, let alone finish second to last. But anyway, that's my experience. I just want to share that.
And that's probably why you were losing so much in the turns.
Yes. I stayed on quite a bit more. I probably stayed on about 2/3 more than I did in my previous races. So I'm getting better at that. I did quite a few of the techniques you guys suggested last week that tended to pay off. Thank you.
Awesome. And you'll keep getting better. That's how it works.
Okay.
Good stuff. Thanks for sharing, Dewan. And Big Den, you've got your hand up. What's up, Big Den?
Just a short club corner. I must admit I was a bit remiss. I didn't sort of let you know that I had a friend here to help me celebrate the 100. He's a bit frosty. His name's James Bogue. But you know, he's cool most of the time. So
see if he'll do an introduction for us.
Well, you know, whatever. Okay. It's a pity. It's pity John's had to go and play hockey because I was waiting to tell him that we're racing this week at Grumpy's Garage, in true Toronto fashion. We've got Sideways Group 5, LMP cars and Polycar 1970s, and I've made myself a note to take some chassis pics of the brass cars for Jeremy. He asked a couple of shows ago, so I'll make sure I do that. The other thing, I went out to my sister's place for tea last night, about 35 k's out of my home city. On the way back, I saw a sign that said Underwood, 1 kilometre. Well, I drove down there, I couldn't see John anywhere.
Didn't need binoculars to see that one coming.
Yeah, it's a little locality there, you know. But, I thought as I went past, I thought I'll put that in the show tonight. So it's short and sharp from me tonight. Thanks.
All right, thanks for sharing, Big Den. Anybody else got any club activities they want to talk about or share about or tell about? Go ahead, Mike.
Sorry. Actually, we raced one magnet class this week. believe it or not.
Back to basics.
Yeah, back to basics. Well, it was the Carrera Nascars. And I actually wanted to ask Jim what he does to make those things run without magnets. They are hopeless, absolutely hopeless.
I guess that's the question. What tires did Jim put on them to get them to run without magnets?
Carrera, I've never run a Carrera NASCAR. You're talking about NASCAR or GT?
Yeah. Well, the later NASCARs, pardon me, the earlier NASCARs, not the latest.
Yeah. So he did GT cars.
Yeah, everything I've got is usually 5208s on the Carrera cars, but that's GT cars. And again, that's for wood tracks.
Okay.
So I haven't got an answer for you.
Okay. Well,
what did you do to the GT cars to make them run real well?
Lots of weight.
Oh.
I meant for Jim.
Oh, for Jim, yes.
The Corvette C8, I did nothing to. Put tires on it. And the biggest thing on the wood track, because I left the stock guide and the stock braid in it on purpose, even though our rules allow you to change that. I wanted to run it with a stock guide. And from my HO experience, the amount that you tweak the braid, because that braid is so stiff, is really critical. Once you get it right, the car runs really good, and you hopefully don't hit anything and misadjust it or misalign it. But once I got the braid just to the right tension to the track, the car worked pretty well.
I have one of the Carrera C8s, and I got it to run well too. But one of the things that I did is on the rear wheels, when they mold them, they have these grooves across the wheel, 4 grooves across the face of the wheel, which is a royal pain in the butt because it gives us a rumble on the track, right? And you can actually see the flats, particularly when you put a silicon tire on that is quite tight on the rim. So what I did was I filled those little grooves with a UV curing resin, and just overfilled them slightly, then put them on my tire razor or my Area 3 tire truer and sanded them down so that they were absolutely smooth. Then when you put the silicon, and I use silicon tires, I used some, I think they were 1410 super tires on the Carrera, because it's almost the same size as a slotted wheel. And when I put those on, then they run really true up the front tires, and like Jim says, make sure the brakes set well, and they actually run great on the wood track.
Yeah, well, on the scaly track, they are hopeless.
Well, what I would do is I would. What tires are you running? The stock tire?
No, I'm running Paul Gage tires on it. I haven't found anything yet to.
I would try a silicon tire if you wanted to, because it probably gives you better grip than the Paul Gage urethanes.
Yeah, but
the track's
they've
clean.
the rubber ones.
Yeah. Or did you try the isopropyl alcohol trick on them?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
That meant that they didn't slide at all; they just tipped over.
Yep.
I mean, the smallest speed, unbelievably, they would just go and flop.
Yeah.
So
put the magnets back in. Huh?
Yeah, well, we did. So we put the magnets back in and we raced them, and they were a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well,
if we use just the stock magnets with the Paul Gage tires, they work pretty decently, and they run pretty close. So it's good fun.
So for my story on we're racing the slotted classics, Le Mans classics in the Analog Club right now. And a couple weeks ago, I noticed that my front wheels were not both touching properly. And I had adjusted the set screws, both top and bottom for both. And I couldn't seem to get rid of that offness. So I decided that the chassis was probably slightly twisted, and forgot to do anything about it the following week, and decided this past Sunday to make sure I did something before our race on Monday. So I completely stripped the chassis down, got the oven all warm and got some water boiling, sat there with a bunch of magnets, holding that chassis down to an old saw blade, and making sure that everything was nicely supported and held down in the right places. The front splitter of the Matra, which is the car that I'm driving, goes up slightly. Right? It's not perfectly flat because the body does that. So the chassis is designed to have this little kind of upward turn right at the front of the chassis. So I supported that so that it wouldn't droop when it got the hot water on it. But I forgot to also then hold it down to my support structure. And when I pulled it out of the oven several hours later after it had gotten the treatment, the entire front splitter had shrunk and cupped up and away from the track significantly. And so the front axle holders were bent inwards. So I'm like, ah! So I tried another round of heat with, holding a magnet down on top of the splitter, which was also supported up off the track, to try to at least get those front axle holders back to mostly vertical. That did not work out so well either. Fortunately, I had another Matra that I had shipped for digital, so I completely stripped out that car to put all the parts of my analog car into that chassis. Unfortunately, that car I had done before I had really learned very much about slotted car tuning, and in that case I had just been using the little plastic axle blocks, not set screws on the bottom, just those little plastic blocks. And I was annoyed about how they would always fall out every time I pulled the axle out, so I glued them on to the chassis. You can't get those off without breaking the chassis. I did not try, but and they're not even like perfectly flat in their glued down position. So yeah, I did not do so well this past Monday night racing. So I will just say to everybody out there, don't do the boiling of the Matra chassis unless you've got some just fantabulous mechanism for holding a little tweaked front like that. I have no idea what you would do to properly hold that in place. The annoying thing is that
epoxy putty.
Yeah, make a little support with epoxy putty and then do another thing on top to hold it.
Yeah.
That might have worked. I'm not going to even bother on the next one. I should have quit while I was ahead, because when I stripped the chassis down and put it on the plate, the steel plate, it didn't seem to be twisted. So I should have just stopped right there and rebuilt that chassis and worked harder to try to get out whatever was going on with that front axle.
What would have happened if you'd bathed the chassis?
What would have happened if I bathed the chassis? What?
Sorry, Greg. No. What would have happened if you bathed the chassis with the axle still in it?
Yeah, you might have had to put some collars either side of the uprights or something like that to hold them in position. But
yeah,
it might have worked. On that old chassis where the little pads are glued in, you could drill through from the underneath with a 16th drill, right through them, and then put the set screw through that.
That's a good idea.
Because an M2 set screw will screw straight into a 1/16th hole.
That is a good idea, sir. Thank you very much for that suggestion.
Oh, you're welcome.
Now at least I can make that car a little bit performing better until I get another chassis. But yeah, all right. I'm going to actually try that. So thank you for that. I did put set screws on the top, so it basically holds it so that it doesn't,
and that's the most important piece.
Yeah. And it wasn't bad. I just had traction issues as well. So I think I'm going to have to, do another round of glue and true on a fresh set of tires. It was basically the same motor pod with the same wheels and tires as I had raced a couple of years back, the last time we raced that same series. So.
The first thing always when you think the front end's properly set and the axle's not sitting straight, to make sure that all the pod screws are equally loose.
Mm-hmm.
because the rear end could be holding the front end off ski.
Yeah, and I didn't. I mean, I thought I did. Maybe I didn't. I thought I did. I thought I knew what I was doing, but I should question myself more often. I definitely did not know what I was doing. What's that, Nick?
One thing I found recently, your slotted pods, it doesn't matter what offset they are, aren't necessarily all 4 points at the bottom where they meet the chassis and not necessarily flat. There's one of my pods, I've set it aside for the Disca car, but one of my pods I had to put, the washers that you put under the pod screw from underneath. You put the screw in, you put a washer. Well, what it actually needed was a washer under the pod mount, between the pod mount and the chassis, to space it. If you screwed it up gently, it would twist it. It would put a twist in the chassis. So you put the washer in and it would straighten it right out. So don't always assume that the 4 points on your motor pod are dead level, because they won't be.
Yeah. Yeah, the car's definitely getting a proper rework once I get some more time to sit down with that. But that is my tale of woe. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to talk about, or should we just open the floor to general slot-related conversation? Alan?
There is a trick or something you can do, Nick, to do with those slotted motor mounts, and I agree, these things are absolutely horrible, right? You see them. I mean, they're not flat. They're not flat. When you flatten your chassis, flatten them with the motor mount in, screwed in tight. Put the whole thing in, lock it down, and then you're not going to have a situation where your chassis is perfectly flat and the motor mount's out of line, or the motor mount's perfectly flat, the chassis is out of line. If you push them all together, tighten it up, lock solid, lock them down with the magnets, the completed unit, one way or another, will be about right.
That works if you use that motor mount all the time. If you change your motor mount, that might not. Yeah, it'll set it straight with that particular motor pod. You change the motor pod, that's not.
I'm so glad I'm not the only.
Yeah, don't do it until you're sure which motor pod you're going to use.
When I change the motor mount in a chassis in a car, it's going to get reflagged, because I would never change chassis components and assume that there's a precision in the injection to make it work. I just would never assume that. I used to. I don't anymore.
Yeah. Okay, so you set your motor pod in the chassis, you set it on your plate, you warm it up, you flatten it.
Yeah.
If you crack your motor pod, you need to change your motor pod. In an example, this weekend comes.
Yeah.
And you change your motor pod. You know what I mean?
I do.
Hopefully it won't happen, but it's a can of worms, isn't it? Where do you stop?
It's true. But for sprint racing, not endurance racing, I agree you have to try and make accommodation for changing parts. For sprint racing, I'd always try and make a complete car as best I can, and then get it right. And then I would never change. I won't change the axles. I'll never change the transmission or lift the whole thing up and clean it as a piece. It all goes back exactly as it was. It never gets, pieces never get changed. And if they have to get changed, then the whole thing goes through a complete flattening, redoing, reworking.
Yes, start all again. Yes, agree.
Totally.
That's a good idea too. I'll definitely check to make sure my pod is flat before I do anything like that.
And we thought Formula One was complicated. And all we're doing is playing with little plastic cars.
Little plastic toy cars, yep.
You know, Dennis, that's the fun thing about
until you pull the trigger.
Hobby and this sport. That's the fun thing about it. They are so simple that you can't possibly describe to someone who's not in this hobby how difficult and complicated it is to get them to work right. You look at them and they are the simplest little things you can imagine. To get one to really go, it's beyond most people's belief what we will do to make sure these things work properly. And it is, I mean, that's what attracts me to this as a sport and a hobby. Very simplistic design, but very difficult to get to work properly.
Tires make such a big difference on the individual tracks. Like this weekend, we ran on a Ollie car track, And the tires that I had used on other tracks just weren't good on them. Just didn't work at all on them. And we switched over to, I think they were gel claws, and they grip like magnets. They were great. So you have to experiment, constantly experiment by track and by car.
Yep. All right, Wayne, I'm gonna mute your.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Thanks for those tips, gentlemen. And Jeremy, you've got your hand up. What's up?
All right. So if you were on the show last week, I kind of demoed my weight jacking tool I was working on, kind of like a magnet Marshall. Now I've got my case all ready to go, but what I'm having trouble with is I took apart the magnet Marshall, the actual one I have, and the magnet Marshall bar is just aluminum with a thin strip of ferrous metal on top. The bottom's not ferrous. I'm trying to come up with a way that I can put this, I can mount this in here, but I can have it rise and lower. I'm just wondering if anybody has any mechanical experience with like a simple way to get it up, adjustable, back down, other than maybe just like a scissor jack is what I was thinking, but I was like, that's probably too complicated.
What I would do is,
Yeah.
so is that bar threaded? Like, do screws go into the bar?
Their bar is, I mean, I suppose I can make mine threaded as well, but I'm only going to have, 5 millimeters of depth on that thread. That's why I thought, are you thinking like screw underneath it up and down?
I was thinking, yeah, screw underneath it up and down, but then where the screw goes through the base plastic printed part, have a nylock nut on top of that, just loose enough so that the screw can turn, but it can't go up or down.
Yeah.
Right, and then the threads into the bar itself are what make it go up and down, because you don't need it to go up and down a lot, right? We're only talking about a millimeter or two, one way or the other.
Yeah.
So as long as you have the thread above and below, where it is when it's level with your testing surface and can raise it up or down 1 millimeter on either side, then I would imagine that would be sufficient.
Don't you think wrong way? Because if I look at the Marshall, the aluminium piece is fixed.
Not on the new one. The new one is adjustable.
On the old one, it's adjustable too. That's you would unscrew it a little to get to compare two of them. If one was pulling too strong, you would tighten that screw down. There's two screws on the very bottom.
But the movement is on the top of the plate.
Right. The top of the plate moves, and it's just got a little load sensor attached to it. But the screws on that part, if you back it off a little or tighten it up, is what let you calibrate them. Those two screws right there for to calibrate them. Yeah. I mean, I guess just do it that way. Bottom, anchor it, and then have it go up a millimeter.
I could take apart my new one and see how they do it, because on the new one, the screws are accessible through the bottom of the case. You don't have to open the whole thing up to adjust it.
Yeah.
So I'll take a look at that and see if it's any different. Anybody else got any ideas for Jeremy? I guess not. I guess we'll go with that one for now, and bug me later about checking the new magnet Marshall to see if there's something different than that, and we'll go from there. All right. Anybody else want to bring up anything, or should we go ahead and do the giveaway for the reciprocator?
I see Jim's hand up.
Jim's got his hand up.
Oh, yeah, there is a virtual hand. Jim, what's going on, Jim?
Back to the McLaren. In testing that car, when I put tape on the bottom of the chassis to limit the pod movement, I picked up 1/10 of a second immediately. And so now I'm trying to figure out, because Electric Dreams does not allow you to do that. I'm trying to figure out a way to limit the pod movement without the tape. And I've come up with one idea I'll show you, and maybe somebody has some suggestions on what I can do. So this is the back of the car. And in the pod, I've threaded a set screw. And that limits that lateral left to right movement of the pod within the chassis. And I can adjust it too. I don't know, I can't see anything in their rules that says this would be illegal. But maybe it's questionable. Or I guess my question is, does anybody have any better or other ways to limit pod movement without tape across the bottom of the chassis?
Okay, you're talking lateral movement though, you're not talking vertical movement.
Correct. I want the vertical movement. I want the pod to go up and down and rock up and down, but I don't want it to move left to right or front to back. I've got the front to back, no problem. But now that pod is flopping around about 60,000th of an inch or so left to right.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get rid of that. And this does the job, but it's a question of is that legal or not, which I can't see anything in the rules why it's not, but I just wondered if anybody has any other ideas on how to limit pod movement without using tape.
Maybe some little pieces of foam glued in there.
I thought about that. Well, I put tape across the pod. And so it's not across the chassis, but I think I'm getting in semantics. They may say you can't do that. I want to figure something out that's dead legal. It will not be questionable when I get down there.
Well, I guess one of the things to make it not questionable is to make sure that it's not visible from underneath.
Well, I can make that set screw not visible. Well, quite honestly, one thing I like about Marco is I can ask him. So if I decide that that's the best way to do it with a set screw, I'm going to send him that picture and say, can I do this?
Yeah.
Before I get
Dennis didn't just say that, did he?
I didn't hear
you. Dennis didn't just say that, did he?
Not encouraging you to cheat.
He did. I'm not saying it's cheating. I'm just saying it's.
If you don't get caught, it's not cheating, I guess, is what Dennis said.
Why are you red then, Dennis?
And the recording is still on.
What about,
That's not cheating, it's engineering.
I just a thought. What about just like some of that styrene sheet, like a really thin bit of styrene sheet, stuck to the
to the sides of the pod there where the set screw is, instead of drilling into the set screw. Because I think that part of, if Marco has a problem with it, it's going to be because it's the kind of thing that not everybody would be able to replicate. And
well, that's kind of part of the idea too.
Yeah, you and I know, but
no, that was a simple pin vise. I can't remember the size of that drill, but it's the same drill I use for HO scale body screws.
Yeah,
and it's a simple pin vise into that and thread that screw. So it's actually pretty simple to do.
And Jim, did you drive that car with the grub screws in there?
No, I have not. I started thinking about it after I tested the car with the tape and without the tape, and on this particular track, it was a noticeable difference.
I was just thinking that. I was just wondering whether or not you thought that the grub screw engaging with the chassis would actually negate or limit the ability of it to move up and down.
It doesn't. It does not limit the ability to move up and down. I haven't tested it on the track, but no, it does not limit the up and down, just the left and right.
So when the car's in a corner, won't it put a load on the end of that grub screw?
Well, that's what I don't know yet because I haven't actually tried it.
That's what I'm fearful of. When the load goes in, does it lock the motion?
I don't think so. No, because playing with it, just sitting on the test bench, it looks like it's a good solution, but I haven't tried it yet.
Let us know.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I guess we'll find out once you get some track time with it.
Do you think the threads will dig into the chassis and stop the movement that way?
I don't think so, because it's now the movement, it's only like 1,000th of an inch. It's just not going to move enough to be able to dig in there. I don't think that'll be a problem. But I kind of like the idea that what Greg said, maybe just put some, whether it's shim stock or whatever in there, just to limit the movement.
Yeah.
Don't forget to paint the grub screw red so it matches the chassis.
Oh, is that a new model? Interesting. Yeah, I'm beta testing it for NSR.
And then don't tell Dennis.
All right, well, let's give away the Tire True Reciprocator machine. And I need to redo my random.org here.
I'm looking at my version of that car, Jim, and on the regular chassis, the black chassis, there's almost no space between the back of the pod and those little rails along the chassis. There's no space there at all.
Yeah, I'd need to see that picture again, but yeah, do what you can. Oh, let me spotlight you there.
I don't know if they can see that, but I mean, you're talking about just in here, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And there's no space there, but on the black chassis.
With the white chassis is quite a bit.
Yeah, interesting.
That is interesting.
The
And
white
just for the
chassis
early
is softer or
initiated,
harder?
Yeah,
Harder.
that's what I was about to ask. Is it a soft or a hard?
Hard.
White chassis is harder.
All right, well, keep us up to date on that, and let's do some giving away in.
But I would say that just to finish that off,
yeah.
Even with this chassis, the car was noticeably smoother and quicker with tape on it.
Yeah, so
even I've taped the bottom of the chassis already. But that was to get rid of chatter coming out of the turns.
All right, here we go. We had a whole 2 entries for the Tire True reciprocator. So Mr. Underwood and Mr. Anthony both have a 50-50 chance of being the winner. The list will probably has a 50-50 chance of looking exactly the same as it does right now when I hit the randomize button. So let's see. Somebody flip a coin. Here we go. And Mr. Underwood is the winner. All right. So email me your shipping address and I will get that out for you. So we're down to our last 15 minutes-ish. Anybody else got anything they want to chat about?
Just got a message for John Underwood. Your parcel arrived yesterday. Thank you.
All right, lovely. Cheers, Dennis. That's good to know. Greg, with the reciprocator, give it to the other guy, mate. It's not a problem.
Why?
I've got a little tire dish thing, so I just thought I'd enter it. So I've got the buildings. So no, by all means, have a chat. That's fine.
Okay. Mr. Anderson will be the winner. Thank you, Mr. Underwood. I thought I saw Graham wave his hand there for a second, and then he disappeared. Did you want to ask something, Graham, or were you just waving goodbye to everybody? I guess he was waving goodbye because I don't see him in the list anymore. All right, so the floor is open. Jeremy's got his hand up again.
Hey, I found something on CritCrack's page. I don't know if it's of interest to anybody else, but it looks like their electronic controller, the ProSpeed 5, is on their website for like pre-notification. I don't know. I love that controller, and I just haven't been able to get one, so I've been keeping an eye on it, and looks like it's up for pre-order, or at least let us know when it's available. So they've at least started the process.
What kind of stuff do you like about that controller?
Oh, well, I used to like it because it was like $120 and it was just a great all-around controller. You know, and I don't plan on spending $350 on a controller. That's just not me. But it's got all the buttons you need, and it's kind of the Parma size, which I like. I don't like the giant, hair dryer thing sticking up here. So it's just all around good control. I got the first one that came out, and like I said, Alan used to have them for like $120, but now they're 184 euros. So price of shipping and production has gone up massively. So.
Yeah.
What brand is that?
DS Controller. They're made.
Okay, DS. Okay, yeah. So I went to a race Friday night, and Neil came with me. So it was his first race. He had a good time, and I was using a Professor Motor controller with the 2 dials, and I just couldn't get any kind of thing going. So I borrowed one of these very expensive controllers and loved it. So it was a third eye with the choke, but it was $400. Like, what do you guys think about that? Is there something else in between? Like, I'll look at what Jeremy said.
So the DS controller, I know Dave Kennedy put it on his website when he was using, because it was the middle of the road. You don't want to spend $400 on a controller, but you don't want to race with the stock, Parma controller. So this was like a nice blend. I like it. It's been my favorite controller, and I think I've tried just about everything except for the top end stuff.
How about this OS, I think it's called? Does anyone know that one?
That Oxygen?
Yes, I know OS. OS 3?
I think someone mentioned it. He said he had one if I wanted. I believe it's in the 200 area price-wise.
Well, what you mentioned the choke for that third eye. Do you think that's a feature that was benefiting you?
I just feel like I would want to have everything, and I'm not sure. Like, what does that do? It sort of limits the range of the of what's coming in, right?
There's two kinds of choke. There's your power, like amperage choke, and then there's your voltage choke. So
Okay.
depending on which the third eye is applying, and maybe you had access to both of them, your power choke or amperage choke is going to reduce the speed at which the car gets up to full speed, right? So when you go full throttle, if you don't have any choke on your power, then it's going to go full speed right off the bat. Whereas if you choke the power, it'll work up to full speed in a matter of milliseconds rather than 0 milliseconds. The voltage choke is going to just cut your top end down, right? So if you've got a really hot motor and you're on a technical track, you'll never need or want the high RPMs that the motor can give at the rated voltage. So you just turn that choke down, and so you get reduced to top RPM because you don't need it. You'll never need it.
A lot of the higher end controllers have an override on the choke when you go to full power too.
Yeah, so you can still get basically a clicker effect or that's the DS.
They've come a long way with controllers for sure since I raced like 10 years ago, and I put my professional motor one, which was always what we were using, back then, and I couldn't seem. It was like I just hit the trigger a little bit and it was flying the car, and I tried the resistance, dial, and it didn't work.
So you might have burned out the sensitivity knob.
Yeah, I might have.
So if
I have 5 of them.
If your sensitivity knob isn't giving you any useful effect, then there's something wrong with it.
Yeah, I thought maybe the track was turned up, but they said no. I have 5 of those, though. I bought one for each of my stations for when people come. So, but I'll look at this DS. That looks nice, and it's definitely in the price range I would rather spend.
You can get the low end DeFalco controller, which is probably more than most people need for $136.
Okay, low end DeFalco.
Does that controller, that DS Racing Pro that we're looking at right now, does that have some kind of choke?
Greg, that's I put the share up. I've got one of those. My only criticism really is the adjustment knobs are very small. When I race, I don't wear glasses because it's only for reading. So if I want to make the adjustments, I've literally got to stop, put my glasses back on to make those adjustments. So if you look at the start control actually reduces voltage, so it's a it's a power reduction thing, and then brake, obviously this conventional brake, and then your curve and your mode, whatever grabs you to work it. But as I said, I actually had one of those knobs came off, and luckily my friend Phil in Hobart was able to fix it. But I got it for about $210 Australian, and they had them on sale. But I think, what did I see there? 179 euros at the moment. So that's quite probably.
It's also a difficult controller to use if you're right-handed, because then the knobs are on the wrong side of the board for a right-hander.
Yeah, and I did actually put the longer, the longer trigger on it. So
that was the other reason I bought it, was because you could put the longer trigger for 2 fingers, and then you could also adjust how tight the throw was, and then that little silver stopper down there where you pull the trigger back. When you fully engage on the speed, it overrides that, so you get full speed when you're pulling full speed.
Mm-hmm. The earlier ones were actually very nice controllers, and they just had a sensitivity and a brake setting, and they worked well.
I'll go ahead and mention the slotted SCP controller. I know it's a love-hate thing with a lot of people, but it has all the features that we've been talking about. And
the hairdryer handle.
The hairdryer. And I don't know why I get so much hate, because it's the exact same size and shape as the Professor motor controller, which I'm sure is where they decided to model that shape from.
Which is also pretty big.
There's the Model 1 version that they first came out with.
Yeah, that's the one I've got.
Yeah, that's what most of you guys have.
Greg, that's my new controller.
Oh God, is that the True Speed?
That's the True Speed Apex.
Yeah, look at all those knobs.
Do you attach that to your belt, that other thing?
No, it plugs into the plug. Stop it.
It plugs direct into the track. If it's a UK track that has sockets on it, it plugs straight into the socket. The pins for the pins are on the back of that box.
Like
if you
XLR?
buy a universal version, then they have fly leads with alligator clips on them.
That's the what's on the controller. That's your curve, your brake, stop, and
yeah,
it's a lovely controller.
What do you got there, Jim?
This is the basic DeFalco, which has been improved. It's got his newer handle on it, not a Parma handle. But for $138, this will do what 99% of people ever need, and it's cheap, well made,
very nice control.
hard to beat.
Very nice control.
I mean, honestly, it sounds like, I mean, if you've got a 2 non-professor motor controller, it should have done the basics just like that DeFalco and the DS that Jeremy held up.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much.
Sounds like something went wrong with that controller at the race that he was trying to use that. But now you've got a bunch of new things to take a look at there, John. And Mr. Hathaway's got his virtual hand up. What's going on, Matt?
How we doing, gentlemen? First and foremost, thanks, Greg, for doing this. Congratulations on your 100th episode. My question, and awesome to meet all you guys. I briefly jumped on post YouTube conversation the other day and did a brief introduction. I'm waiting for that once I sweep the floor and dust off the track to show you guys. But real quick, my question was about, and maybe this is for Dennis, the TrueSpeed controller. I have a Scalextric track, and I was looking to potentially upgrade to those, but it's wired, and I really like the idea of a wireless controller. Is there any talk of that happening, or is there something I should be considering? And I'll let you guys fill me in on my uneducated amateur status.
You've got an Arc Pro, right? Yeah, so the only wireless options that are available for the Arc Pro, aside from the controllers that it comes with, is the slotted SCP3. With a firmware update, it can be a controller for the Arc Pro. I've heard that Steve Hills, the owner of TrueSpeed, is working on a new wireless controller for Scalextric Digital, but we don't have any details as to what type of wireless it's going to be, whether he's going to work with Slotted and Scalextric to use the Arc Pro Wi-Fi wireless technology to integrate with Arc Pro, or if he's going to do something for the wired systems like the APB or the previous Scalextric Digital that he had been working with SCS wireless controller system for his previous wireless controllers, which is not compatible with the Arc Pro. So basically, you're gonna have to wait for Mr. Hills to reveal more about his plans for a Scalextric digital wireless controller before we'll have an answer to that. Right now, your choices are OEM or slotted SCP3.
Understand. So hang on. Yeah, I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. I've spent many late nights listening to you guys in my recliner, and thrilled to be a part of this, and tremendously excited to show you what I've built in 5 years out here with these little knuckleheads that are with me. So appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. Keep it up, please.
It looks like a great little layout there.
Yeah, he's got a nice big track. So we're looking forward to a proper show and tell when Matt is ready to do that. So thanks for hopping on, Matt. And Dennis, did you have any insider information that I might have not known about, or did I?
No, sir. You are better informed than I am right now. I think I haven't spoken to Steve for quite a while. I know that he was busy with
the website now.
He was busy with that Apex that Paul was showing, and that looks like a super nice controller. Unfortunately, right now it's only good for 1/32 scale plastic cars, and so that means that my bank account has not yet been attacked for one of those.
I got mine through mates rates.
Yeah, mates rates.
when I was on when we done the Can-Am race do you remember when I'd done the Surtees Lola and the Sonoco 91730? Well, he was there, and I said to him, I said, "Is this the new Apex?" He went, "Yeah." I said, "Can I have a go on it?" And on practice, this is on the Saturday on the practice, and I was getting quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker, and I went, "Oh, can I borrow this?" He went, "Yeah." I said, "You're not getting it back." He said, Oh, all right then. I said, so come on then, what's mates rates deal? I got it at mates rates.
Yeah, don't tell us what the rate is. We'll be jealous. Well, that's pretty much
well, over here, it's 250 quid.
Yeah, which is not a bad price for the kind of functions that it has. I mean, even the PWM2s were really well priced for the kind of features that they have.
Yeah,
I run a PWM2 all the time.
On that note, we're going to end the recording, but as always, we'll keep chatting. So if you're missing the live chats, then don't come to a live chat and then hang out and just randomly chat about all kinds of slot car and non-slot car related things. Until then, we will wave goodbye. So if you want to wave bye, now's the time to wave bye. Bye.